All right, hello everyone. This lecture will cover the letter of complaint assignment, and it is supported by Chapter 14 of your textbook, so you might as well flip to Chapter 14, which is entitled Writing Letters, Memos, and Emails in the ninth edition. Okay, we'll also be, to begin this, looking at the assignment itself. Very short description, pretty easy assignment. It'll be one page. Letters of complaint are fairly short. Chapter 14 also refers to this as a claim letter. Basically, you're asking for something to be fixed. So a letter of complaint is not necessarily complaining, but rather it's more of a problem-solution-based genre, where there's some type of a relationship between you and another party. Something is not going well, and you're asking that party to change whatever they can so that both you and potentially the other party have a brighter future, let's say. Okay, so inside of the assignment, you can see 150 to 250 words is sufficient. You could get it done in 2 paragraphs. People usually go with 3 or 4, simply because you have one paragraph of background, one focusing on an explanation of the problem, one focusing on the solution, and then sometimes a final paragraph that does other things that we'll talk about soon enough. The book has a few models that we'll look at that work pretty well. I don't have any student models for you to look at, and that's fine. But mainly what you need to do with this assignment is not fictionalize a situation, but rather think about something, a problem, let's say, that you currently have, or a situation, a concern that you currently have in your own life. In the past, you can see the examples on the assignment description. People have written to Walmart or other places asking them to change their business practices for, say, political reasons, environmental reasons is the example I have. A lot of people choose to write to their landlords. A lot of college housing, it would seem, is subpar, at least in 1 or 2 ways, which is not fun for all of you. So you may as well use this assignment to try to fix something. In the past, this has been everything from unshoveled driveways to people parking illegally in an apartment parking lot but not being towed, to bats in the chimney, and trying to get these things removed, solved in some ways. So do feel free to address a real problem from your life. Don't fictionalize anything here. So you don't have to send the letter if you don't want to, but I do want you to draw on something from your own life that is a concern or even sort of makes you angry. Of course, you don't want to write angry, but if you're angry about something, that's a great thing to write about for this assignment. And we'll turn that anger into something a bit more motivating, I suppose. So really what we need to do is just take a look at the book's information, and I think we'll be okay. So if you'll flip to page 363 in the ninth edition, you have a nice breakdown of not just a letter of complaint, but all letters, of memos and emails. People tend to be too informal in emails, I find, but generally hit the right mark for formality in letters and memos. I suppose that's because we all send email and text and stuff like that, and so people are used to informality. When you're writing professors, when you're contacting people for jobs, you want to have the same level of formality that you would have in a letter or a memo. If you flip to page 364, you'll just see down at the bottom the bullet points, the 5 bullet points, and these are all good things to keep in mind as you write your letter of complaint. I'll be looking for these things. Typically, the 2 things that don't go well, we can even say 3 things, I think, that don't go well in a letter of complaint are that the people don't really have a clear problem or solution. As I said, they just write angry. So you should ask for something to be changed, right? You should identify why it is a concern and why it should be changed. Sometimes that important information is buried inside of the paragraphs. You want very clear topic sentences organized probably around the relationship between you and the other party with some history, a problem, and a solution. Those 3 things will probably be your topic sentences, or very nearly your topic sentences. That's a great way to organize this. And the third thing that people miss is what's referred to as you attitude, which I'll talk about more, and the book talks about at a decent amount of length. But you attitude is simply convincing the other person that there is something in this for them, not just for you. So if you've got a problem or a concern, that's great. They may or may not want to help you. If you can convince the person that somehow their future will be better, their problems will go away, their reputation will be held in higher esteem by solving your problem, now there's something in it for them, and that's motivating. I guess if we want to think about it on the level of business, that's just a business relationship. There's something in it for both sides, right? And oftentimes people forget to include that type of persuasive material in their letter of complaint. So I'll definitely be looking for you attitude when I grade these. That will be the new move, so to speak, in terms of content for a lot of you. So it's not just about you, it's about the other person too. Both parties need to get something out of this. And that's a good way to approach just any type of business communication or technical communication. Okay, so from here I just want you to read the textbook for supporting information. They've got two informal, formal, and I know that we're all bright enough to understand what those things are. So just take a look through here. Take a good look at the examples. They've got nice rhetorical breakdowns through here. So I'll just let you look at, well, I guess 366, project the you attitude. They've got accusing, you must have dropped the engine. The housing is badly cracked. Better would be the badly cracked housing suggests that your engine must have fallen onto a hard surface from some height. So you're not directly accusing them of doing anything wrong, so it softens the blow, so to speak. So these small language changes, rhetorical changes, can be very, very helpful. And we see another example here, the sarcastic example doesn't work either, but rather sort of a more sincere, surely you would find a 2-month delay for the delivery of parts unacceptable in your business. That's how I feel too, right? So actually, drawing on empathy or sympathy here in terms of the delay for business. So that is a nice use of you attitude. If you want to go one step beyond this, you can actually say, I think solving this problem would improve your reputation to future tenants, so please shovel my driveway more often. Right? It's a bit informal, but that type of thing can also be you attitude. It's perhaps a step up from simply coaching things or couching things in positive terms. Okay, so if you continue to move through the chapter, you've got a lot of good information on letters. If you take a real quick look at 369, you do want to have this type of format. We can also take a look at page 374, which is the actual model for the letter of complaint. That's not it. It is this one right here. What you want to have, and what you see on page 369, is you need to have this information in the right place. You always need to have your contact info. If you're going to complain, even if it's to your landlord, they need to know that it's you, they need to know what address you're at, they need to have your contact info so they can find you easily, phone, email, address. Even if you have a personal relationship with the person and you think they know where you are, who you are, you want to make sure that you're formal enough and have this in there. This information here, people sometimes ask, do I always put the addressee here? Why can't I put it over here? And the answer is this. The addressee always goes with the opening because this signifies who's who. This will never be confused with the sender. It can only be the receiver because the receiver always goes in this spot closest to the salutation, right? So that's an easy way to remember. This functions as a package. They always go together. That way, if it's properly written and it's your letter and a third party sees it, they don't know if who's who if you've done this backwards. So the easy way to remember this is keep it together. That's always worked for me. So you have on page 369 just an introduction to how to set up a business letter. So please do take a look at that, the subject line, etc., etc. So as we move forward to the claim letter, you do have just basic business letters on page 372, 373. Please take a look at the rhetorical analysis of those. But we'll focus here on this letter, the claim letter, which sets you up for success in your assignment. So you can see this is a 4-paragraph letter. You can see they're all pretty short, and you could probably make an argument it could be 2 paragraphs. So one thing to think of here is sort of a theory, so to speak, of why they would break these into such short paragraphs. The answer is probably because they want strong topic sentences, because longer combined paragraphs would bury important information in the middle of a paragraph. So they've chosen to break these, what could be one long paragraph, into 2, so they can have this important information first and put it in a scannable and important position. And that could go for each of these paragraphs. Another way to look at this, in addition to that, is that each of these paragraphs probably has its own function. So what you probably want to do at this point is just stop, pause the lecture for a minute, and figure out what the purpose of each paragraph seems to be. Earlier I mentioned that you probably have background information, things related to the problem, things related to the solution, and perhaps you attitude. So you'd want to see if those things are designated paragraph by paragraph, or if there's a mixture of those things in some way in several of these paragraphs, or exactly how this is organized. So go ahead and just pause this for a moment and give this a good read now and see what you can find. So if you take a look at this, you'll notice that the first paragraph in this example, this isn't the only way to write this, but the first paragraph seems to cover the relationship between the two companies, the two parties, steady customers for over 15 years. It goes without saying that what they're trying to do is probably build ethos. They have a problem, they want it solved, and they're simply saying, listen, we've done a lot of good work together, and they're probably implying there would be more in the future as long as the other party, which is this letter over here, Lawrence Supply Company, is willing to sort of confess, own up to their mistake, and fix this problem, perhaps even at a financial loss. So all of that is happening in this basic opening statement here. We've been customers and we have this relationship for 15 years. So the relationship usually happens early so that your reader who's receiving the complaint can know what exactly the relationship is. And if you have a steady, solid relationship, you may as well mention it. Right? There is a bit of background here. On your recommendation, we did this and that, so it's a bit more specific to this one purchase. And then we start to get the problem, right? It's not quiet enough, this pile driver that they've ordered. You'll also notice there are small moments of emotion, I suppose you could say, coming through, much to our embarrassment. And if you were to read through here, you'd see a couple more moments like that. And so that's acceptable too. Notice that the emotion isn't overwhelming, but rather just captured that this was embarrassing, humiliating in some way, and therefore hurts their business and hurts Robbins Construction's relationship with their customers, right? So it's okay to do those type of things. It's probably not okay to overdo it, right? This is still fairly polite and down to business in terms of the background information it gives. Sometimes when people, students in the past at least, have written this, they have a very close relationship with what they're writing about. If they're writing to the Humane Society, they're writing about mistreatment of something or other. And it tends to turn into sort of a personal narrative, closer to a diary journal type of entry. And so you don't want that, right? So hold off on the emotion. Instead, give them background, talk about what's proper, what you need, and have them fix things from there. So you can see the second paragraph, its purpose is mostly background information. Notice it has a lot of the details of the purchase, but also of the problem itself. 90 decibels versus 104 decibels, right? So they can see what exactly the problem is. So it's evidence for the claim, right? In this case, it's fairly scientific even, you could say. Third paragraph, the topic sentence. I think you will agree that we have a problem. So their identification of the problem, even though the problem is implied in the second paragraph as well. So this, I think you will agree, clearly a good rhetorical move, trying to draw the two parties together, trying to take Lawrence Supply Company's, trying to get Lawrence Supply Company to own up to this and take responsibility for it, right? Through this nice sort of empathy building, I think you will agree type of move. Notice that it mentions other solutions to the problem that they had to come up with, perhaps again to show that it was a large problem. There's something you can learn from that. Even if it's your landlord not shoveling your driveway, you could talk about what you've had to do, sort of the problems it's caused, or the extra work that it's created for you because they are not doing their part, owning up to their contract, right? So you can borrow some of these rhetorical moves, even if what this fictional situation here seems fairly removed from your own life. It's not in many ways. The types of moves that they're making to build a consensus, to reaffirm the relationship, and to draw them into solving your problem are all great moves that you can borrow for your own letter and should use in the future as well. So interestingly here, you can see then that the solution comes in this really brief final fourth paragraph. Send out a technician as soon as possible to repair the driver or take it back for a full refund. So in this case, we didn't necessarily see problem and solution and you attitude and background information divided into 4 different paragraphs. There seems to be a blend of each of these. Right, we get a bit of the problem up front. We have some background here on the problem, and then we have a full statement of the problem here, and then finally the solution down here. And here and there we get some you attitude through the stabilization of the relationship, and then through drawing them in through the we agree, right? Notice there's no overt statement saying this will be good for you because. Rather, it's probably implied in this letter by this opening paragraph, the relationship. It will be good for them to fix this because the relationship will continue. So you can be overt if you want to and say it's good for you to fix this because, or you can be a bit more subtle about it and simply imply a future relationship with this party that both parties would like to maintain. You see on the opposing page then the response. You can see again it's 4 fairly short paragraphs. I'm not saying 4 is the magic number, but rather these short paragraphs let you have strong topic sentences that are fairly scannable. If you look through them, I'm unhappy to read your letter, right? So that's sort of almost an emotional opening, showing that there's sympathy and probably a solution coming, right? Harry Rivers, our best technician, has already been in touch, so it looks like they're solving the problem. Action's been taken. I realize I cannot undo the damage to make up, so here's a further part of the solution to maintain the relationship. And then they close on the relationship as well. You have indeed been a good customer. So it's all about reaffirming the relationship and solving the problem in terms of what topic sentences have been chosen here. So again, very, very deliberate breaking of what could be just one long paragraph. So you want to repeat that type of thing that was happening in both of these examples for your own letter of complaint. But also you can see if you work in any industry job in the future, we are writing these types of letters. Topic sentencing is very, very important because it communicates those basic things: the relationship, the empathy, the willingness to solve the problem, as well as the problem solution and your attitude. So chapter 14 just continues to offer a number of insights into writing letters, memos, and emails. I'll let you look through that on your own. I guess the last thing I'll end with here is just sort of a plea to keep this book or get one like it when you graduate. There's always a rush to sell your books back, right, to get a few bucks. However, you'll probably want to have something like this book or this very book around the house because you'll wind up writing plenty of these things, either for your own job, if you start a business, or simply to help yourself out in life as well, to write an effective letter of complaint. So do keep your book or have something like this in your personal library. Otherwise, it's all about the assignment, so you need to find something that is currently on your mind and write that one-page letter of complaint. So good luck to you. I will talk to you all soon.